Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa azwajihi wa man wala wa ba'd. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. This is your brother Sheikh Khalid Yassin, and this is my Sky Views platform on Facebook Live. And those of you who have been following me and listening to my comments for some years, you know that Sky Views, these are my views. And yes, they are subjective. That is, they're subjective to my experience, my exposure from my travel and interaction with people in more than 134 countries over a period of maybe some 30, 35 years. I don't claim to be right. I just present what I consider to be reasonably right. And I leave room for other people to present what they present with their evidence or through what they put forward for consideration. And then everybody can step back and look at what each party or person has put forward, and that's reasonable. I am not part of this so-called religious right. Those who want to be religiously right, who insist upon being religiously right or religiously correct. And they are demanding in all conversations, they are demanding from somebody some verse of proof from the Quran or proof from the Hadith or proof from some documented, archived information that that can be accessed now digitally. Or they are asking for someone to approve what you say or do from a scholar in a country whom themselves may be just surrogates of oppressors, or scholars who themselves are engulfed in their own social, political realities, and whatever they are relating is within the context of those social, political realities, environmental realities, and they may not know at all the social, political, or environmental realities of the people who are asking the question. And now we are not children. We didn't just come into Islam yesterday. We have come into Islam, some of us 50, 60 years ago. We have great-grandchildren. I do. So we are not so much profound in our Islamic knowledge, but we are well-rounded. We are not super intellectual, but we are people, and we have children and grandchildren who are university graduates. We are not so scholastic within the religion that we give people fatwas and that we give people religious rulings and opinions and determinations. We don't do that because we don't have the authority. We don't have the tools in the society to really do that. But we respect the Islamic rulings, the general Islamic rulings. We respect the determinations that have been made previous to us. But we look at it, we review it, we consult with one another, and if we are senior Muslim leaders, citizens of the United States of America, we have a responsibility to evaluate and to assess and to apply whatever we have heard or seen within the context of the society where we live. Get that part very clear, because when you get that part very clear, that's not negotiable. So all of the people who are scholars or students of knowledge around the world, if you want to contribute to the crystallization or to the refinement of Islam in the 21st century, and in particular in the United States of America, this is how you got to come. This is what you need to know. I can go and shop for whatever it is that I need. Whatever store, whatever it is that I got to go source it. I bring it back to my family or to my community or to my constituency, okay, or to my community, and I cook it. I put it on the table, I cook it, I present it. That's my responsibility. That's not somebody else's responsibility, even if they live next to the Kaaba. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care if they can speak Arabic like on the scale of Sibawayh. That doesn't impress me. I don't care if they got all the 10 qira'ats and they broke that down into 10 variables and they got 100. That doesn't impress me. I don't care if they memorize all those books that you see young, ambitious students of knowledge, young, ambitious, or old, ambitious students of knowledge. The first thing they go out and do is they go out and spend $5,000 or $3,000. It depends upon where they buy it from. And they purchase like about the 15 different classical sets of, they call it in Arabic, Ummahatul Kutub. Ummahatul Kutub. That means the major Islamic works that provide you with the wide scope of rulings and opinions and interpretations and commentary and parameters by which will facilitate us to understand and practice Islam within that football field. So we respect the people who have spent the time to do that. We even make reference to that. However, we're not bound by that. Let's get that point clear. We're not bound by that. We're bound to hear, we're bound to listen, to appreciate, to make reference to respect. We're bound to that. But we are not bound to subordinate our common sense or to subordinate our constitutional right or to subordinate our individual right to think about things objectively. We have to. Responsible people have to. I have to do that on behalf of my family. I got to do that on behalf of my community. I have to do that on behalf of my constituency. I have to do that. That's being socially responsible. Anybody who wants anything less, either they are subversive or they themselves is a surrogate of somebody who is subversive. Now, I want to make a direct comment here, a reference back to some critics who say that, Sheikh, why are you posting this and why are you posting that? Don't you know that such and such a person is a mubtadi? Or don't you know that person, that's a kafir, she's a Jewish person? Or don't you know that person is this or that or whatever? Well, listen, I don't need you to subscribe to my work if you have already subscribed. I don't need it. Get your money back. If you pay $9.99 a month, if that's what you are doing on one of our platforms to support this ministry or to support my work, the work of the Purpose of Life Foundation, if you've decided to give us $9.99 a month as a subscription, for instance, we want to give that back to you. And if you've been paying it for the last year, we want to give that back to you. Because your subscription does not subordinate my ideas or my responsibility. If you like what I have to say, welcome. I don't ask you to share. If you like something, you should share it anyway. That's the general principle of goodness. When you like something, want for your brother what you want for yourself or your neighbor or whatever. That's a given. I don't tell you like and share. To me, that's something that you should simply do. But what I do say to you is this. I appreciate anyone who spends their time listening to me or viewing what I have to say. I appreciate that. Because you don't have to. Not in the 21st century when there are so many micro things to do. However, you're listening to me or viewing me or coming to it's kind of like it doesn't give you the right to tell me what I should do or what I shouldn't do or to expect my house to be arranged in a way that you want it to be arranged. If you come to my house as a guest, You sit down, take my hospitality, and when you've got enough, you leave. You don't come in and tell me to move my furniture around. I mean, who do you think you are? If you don't like what it is I'm serving, it was the habit of the Prophet ﷺ that when somebody served him something, in this case we're talking about food, he never commented on it except to appreciate. He ate what he wanted, and what he didn't want, he didn't comment. So you come here and you listen. You don't need to be commenting upon what you don't like and setting some rules. No, you go get your own Facebook page. No problem. Now, having said that, brothers and sisters, from time to time, I find something that is very compelling. I find something that's very nice, has good value. When I say value, I mean social value, human value. It doesn't, food is food. Water is water. And the Prophet told us in a very good hadith, تُطْعِمُ الطَّعَامِ وَتَقْرَأُ السَّلَامِ مَنْ عَرَفْتَ وَمَنْ لَمْ تَعْرِفْ. That's what he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Give food, distribute food, and give good greetings to whom you know and whom you don't know. This is the basic translation. Well, knowledge is the same way. Give good knowledge to people. And what you consider to be good, decent, dignified words, words that may motivate, words that may inspire, words that will inform. That's what we're supposed to do. But I'm not here to please you or somebody else who's a part of a group, following a person or a persuasion or a school or whatever you want to say you represent. But you don't come to my house, my page, and tell me how to move my furniture around. No, you're on the wrong page, homie. Get your own Facebook page. There's no problem. If you're doing something good, let me know and I'll be there. But the Prophet said another thing. He says, whoever believes in Allah and the last day, whoever really believes in Allah and the last day, not just professes, but it should be their conduct, فَلْيَكُلْ خَيْرٍ أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, let them say what is good or keep quiet. That's what the Prophet said. I didn't say it. I just repeating it. So now let me go to this issue again. From time to time, I am putting on my page. And you know, brothers and sisters, I have two pages. One is a personal page, the one I'm talking on right now. You know, I can kind of like be relaxed. I can kind of like, be the way I really want to be. It's not like I'm in a studio. It's not like it's a class or it's like 10 minutes or whatever it is on a particular topic. This is kind of like, no, I'm in my living room or I'm at my dining room table or I'm somewhere else I need to be or want to be and I'm just talking. Now, I'm reading a newspaper. I'm listening to something, something, a lecture. I'm meeting somebody. I'm viewing some things. And then I'm coming on my personal page and I'm talking like this. I have another page, Khalid Yasin. It's Khalid Yasin Official. Yeah. Khalid Yasin, Sheikh Khalid Yasin Official. So official just means that like, this is the official page that we use for our official social media message. Now, this is my personal page. So it's like a step down, with open collar, so to speak. So I can say some different things at my dining room table. So let me say this. There are people who may be Hindu, Jewish, Mias, Deist, Christian, Muslim, socialist, all kinds of different people that say something very profound. I don't care if they're white or black or male or female, whoever it is. They can be even a person who is morally inept. They could be a person who's perceived popularly to be immoral or criminal. Well, I'm not just going to take from those kinds of people and quote them. But if somebody said something profound, which is the truth, I have a right to share it if I need to. Because rain is rain, and heat is heat, and truth is truth. And when rain comes down, it affects human beings the same way. When heat comes, it affects people the same way. And when truth comes, it's the same, coming from anyone. So, why do I refer to people to be narrow-minded, religious donkeys? That's not an insult. It's a categorization. Narrow-minded because, they're reading the Quran or they're reading the Sunnah or they're claiming to be the Muslim, but they're doing so within a very narrow-minded perspective. We're not going to get into all that because we've already talked about that. Narrow-minded, religious, scriptural perspective. They're out of context. It's seen by almost anybody with common sense or whoever's educated. They can see that this religious person, their behavior, their attitude, what they're saying, and what they're applying their scriptural rules to, they're doing it in a very dysfunctional way. They're not taking into consideration the broad picture, the broad social picture, the broad international global picture, the broad human picture, historical picture. They just, at that time, in that place, and what they're reading, that's what they're doing, and they don't take into consideration time, space, circumstance, or situation. That's narrow-minded. We can put a little more depth to that definition, but that's narrow-minded. Now, religious, it means that a person is basically a good person. They could have been a reformed criminal, and religion helped to reform them. That's great. Whoop-de-doo. But that's not religious. Because you used or you were affected by religion to reform yourself, that's great. And because you are practicing, reasonably applying or observing the religion of Islam in your life, that's great. Whoop-de-doo. That's the objective. That's the maqasid of Islam, to do your best within your capacity. But don't take the word religion and apply it to you. Don't take the religion and apply it to your group or your scholar or the sources that you take it from. Don't put the religion in that box. Just present what you think is correct and step back and give people the opportunity to appreciate what you have to say and to put it within the context of the tools and the circumstances and the situation where they're living at and who they are and what they understand and the many variables that might be attached to your opinion of what you just said. Don't take the Quran and put it into a box and apply it to everybody the same way. It's not like that. It's not that way. Almost every major resource in the world that's beneficial to human beings, it has to be packaged for a particular time, place, circumstances, situation, demographic, on and on and on. It's the same resource because people are people and they got their own variables. So, for me, donkey, it means a person who doesn't use their own common sense. Donkeys do not have their own common sense. They have an animal sense. They have instinct. They're smart enough to learn rules and to fulfill a particular function, but they don't have intelligence. Donkey. That's why they are ridden. That's why they are loaded. Because they are ridden and loaded, they're ridden by people who have intelligence. They're ridden by people who know how to manipulate. And they are loaded by people who have their own objectives. So me, I'm not a donkey. I don't claim to be sort of like, like a very pious, because that classification comes from God, or it may come from other people who know you very well throughout your life. So I don't claim to be pious, but I am religious. In that sense, I'm an Islamist. I want the objectives of Islam to affect the world. And therefore, I embrace the principles of Islam to refine my life. And when I argue from an Islamic point of view. And my view of the world and after the world is an Islamic view. So I'm an Islamist. But I'm also a realist. So as a realist, it's my job, to the best of my ability, it's my responsibility, to the best of my capacity, to present Islam within the context of the time, the space, the circumstance, the country, the society in which I'm living. And when I travel around the world, I have to put that within the context of the global reality, social, political reality. That's my job. That's how I see it. And that's basically has a lot to do with how I present myself on this particular program with this particular digital medium. But at the end of the day, in case you don't know, this is my Facebook page. Not that I own it in that sense. No, mine because I've developed my platform. It's my living room. It's my living room. It's my program. Allah holds me responsible for this. It's my contribution. And if you want to be here, be in the audience. Ask a question if it's reasonable and decent and dignified. If you want to make a comment you feel you need to, do that. I don't need to actually respond to it because, like it's an audience. But don't come to this platform. Don't come to my living room. Tell me to move my furniture around and what you don't like. No, you stay where you are. And we will respectfully disagree. It's okay. Everybody in the world are not friends, but they can be friendly. So, there are people who at a particular time and place, they are inspired by God or they're inspired by conscience. And they say something very powerful, very impactful, something that is very impressive, valuable, important, critical. And sometimes it's sent to me. And what I do is I share it. That's my determination. That's my discretion. So the narrow-minded, religious donkeys, I try to avoid them. I don't want to get stepped on by a donkey. I don't want to be kicked by a donkey. Because the person who's a donkey, there's nothing you can do back to them. Animals are not kind of like responsible. Animals are not moral. If a gorilla escaped from the zoo and killed somebody, you're not going to take the gorilla to court. You're not going to prosecute the gorilla because he's not intelligent. And donkeys are not intelligent, generally. Most religious crimes, that is people who claim to be religious, but they are committing horrendous crimes, that most of them are ignorant. Most of them are uneducated. Most of them are religious, narrow-minded, religious donkeys. Some people could call them fanatic. Somebody might call them extremists. But this is an urban way for me to describe Muslim fanatics, Muslim extremists, narrow-minded, religious donkeys. And I already qualified the word narrow-minded, and I already qualified the word donkey. It's a description. It's not an insult. Let's be dignified in our discussion with each other, our communication with each other. First of all, my Facebook page is not like a chat room. So just the fact that you can send messages, it's okay. Sometimes I do respond because I have the time or I think there's a need, but generally I don't. This is not a chat room. This is me speak, me talk, you listen. If you don't like that, get your own page. And I'll be there. If it's something valuable, I'll be there. And I'll follow the rules that I just gave myself. I'll either say what's good or I keep quiet. And if I disagree with you, I will disagree in a decent way. Honorably and respectfully disagree. That's what dignified people, educated people do all the time. But extremists, fanatic, narrow-minded, religious donkeys, they're the ones that create the most damage within the religion and outside the religion. I don't want to be part of that, and I am not. So back to our discussion today, and that is to clarify things for brothers and sisters maybe you don't know. I have two pages. I have one which is called Khalid Yassine Official, and that page is managed by a social media team who has the capability of doing that. And the reason why we have that team is to optimize the use of social media. That's all. To optimize it. Now, my personal page is something different. I'm sitting in my living room, or I'm traveling. I'm in the airport. I'm with someone. I'm in a cafe. Whatever it is, I'm thinking of something. I read something. I heard something. I wrote something, and I want to share it with you, and I do. I do it sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day, sometimes 2-3 times a week, depending upon other endeavors that I have. But that's my personal page. I never tell anybody what to say or what to do or nothing. I just give it's called Sky Views. Come on, it's clear. Sky Views. Nobody got to follow my views. And you wouldn't even know my views if you wasn't like on my page. These are my subjective, personal views. This is my insight, my experience, my responsibility. If I'm talking to my children, if I'm talking to my grandchildren, if I'm talking to my great-grandchildren, if I'm talking to my neighbors or whatever it is, this is how I would talk. This is my position, and I pay for this. It's my time. You don't pay for this. I don't ask anybody. Pay me $100 an hour. Lawyers psychologists charge you $100 an hour. Sit down on the couch, give you some opinion or whatever the case might be, and you're an executive, and after 3 hours you get up and you go back to work, and you don't mind the $300 that you spent because he or she is a professional, and they're offering you some kind of a therapy that you have put into some context of value, and you pay them. It's done all the time. You go to a sauna, you go, whatever you do, you go on a vacation, whatever you do, you're doing this and you pay for it. Well, I'm creating an environment that I hope will give you benefit. But I'm not asking you to pay for it. There are ways and there are platforms that we have where you can subscribe, and you should. If you see something of value, don't think you can just walk down the road, just pick apples, mangoes. Yeah, you can every now and then, it might happen, but it ain't yours. If you want that on a regular basis, anything of value, you should be prepared to pay for it. I didn't ask you. I can only advise you. I can only direct you. I can only appeal to you that if you want to support this work so this work gets better, it's more well established and reliable for you as a source, you should subscribe. And you do subscribe to things like that in the world that we live in today. Every one of the people that I'm talking to, and especially in the Western world, if you go back to your bank account or whatever records that's kept for your expenditures, you'll find out that on a monthly basis that you are paying 20 or 30 things. It could be something like $2.99, but you're paying for it on a monthly basis, and you don't mind. It has something to do with your status. Well, here, I don't ask you to do that. We do have platforms and programs and programs and resources that themselves have been prepared for your subscription. But this personal page, I don't ask anybody to pay for it. That means that I have the right. If I'm serving the water, if I'm serving the bread or the dates, I'm providing you with the environment and the energy. I should be able to say whatever I want to say. Now, if this was a chat room, we can like kick it back and forth. We can throw it back and forth. But this is not a chat room. I never even invited people, talked to people about joining a chat room. I don't do that. Generally, I don't like to chat. I don't like to use social media for chatting. It's not very effective. Sometimes, you know, a chat, if we need to, may be better than just an audio phone call. It can be, aesthetically. But it's not necessary at all. This is not a chat room. This is my Facebook Live Sky Views program in which I paint the picture. I lay out a template. I choose a topic or a theme, and I try my best to address it in a inspirational, motivational, informational format. That's essentially what I do. Now, I think this will be a good time, brothers and sisters, for me to say to you that my social media team, understanding the limitations of YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, Instagram and TikTok, you know, as the major platforms that people use for communication and transferring information. They set up something called Patreon. They set up something called Patreon /Skyviews. Patreon /Skyviews.com. That's it. Just a wonderful, powerful, resourceful platform, Patreon. So on Patreon, what Patreon does, what Facebook doesn't do, what YouTube doesn't do, what Instagram or what TikTok or Twitter doesn't do, is that it allows the creator of content, in this case, myself, to work directly with the patron or the supporter, which is yourself. That is, you can support the creation of content, which I'm doing. And you can show your support, okay, through some kind of a subscription. $5 a month, $9 a month, $15 a month. But the good thing about it is that you are going to get more content. You're going to get Word documents. You're going to get PDF. You're going to get video content. You're going to get links. When you have questions, you're going to be listened to and responded to. If you want me to share my research with you, research for a topic that I'm discussing, that you would not normally receive or you wouldn't know. We have maybe 150 lectures that we have delivered around the world in the last 30 years. And if you try to find all of them on YouTube, you could like spend all day long. What we've done is we have codified them, packaged them, digitized them, and made them available for you under the general title of the Sky, Sheikh Khalid Yasin, Sky Signature Series. So, you know, maybe I lectured someplace and somebody else took it and made it into a DVD and put their name on it and promoted it and they sold it. I didn't take anybody to court about that. We don't consider it to be very ethical to do that. However, we didn't take anybody to court for that. Over the years, people have set up websites and sold my content. People have themselves taken my content, burned discs and tapes and digitized it and sold it and distributed it. And for the most part, it was quite innocent. Just people who considered themselves to be promoting my message. But they made money. But that's okay. Well, what we've done now is what belongs to us is my intellectual right, my intellectual content, my intellectual property. As an individual, as a person in the United States of America, as a Muslim, I do have a right to what I have created. That is my writing, my research, my delivery. See, my writing, my research, my delivery, my energy. I have a right to that, legally. So what we've done is we've collected as much as we could with my notes and what I preserve. And the good thing, brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, is that for the last 20 years in particular, I don't speak without a reference. It means that I wrote something. I outlined it as I am today. I'm making some references here and there. So when I go do a public lecture in a university or a school or a college or a government institution or a mosque or a church or wherever it is, I've already researched that subject and I've wrote about that subject and I have my notes in front of me and I'm referencing things in front of me because it helps to be accurate with time and delivery and other things. I will share that with you. You can get access to my over 100 Sky Signature Series, which are my lectures covering a lot of different subjects. And that's not because I'm like a scholar or you should be listening to me. No, it's not. I'm not promoting it like that. If it's valuable, you should get it all. As much as you can, because life is short. And the person who you want to get it from or whatever, God takes them out. They're gone. And what's left is, the residue is what they left in writing or delivery, or in the case of the world we live in today, a digital record. So with Patreon, you have access to that. With Patreon, we are creating new content, which is only for Patreon. It's just for you. In other words, you'll get it first on Patreon before it goes to YouTube, before it goes anywhere else. You're going to get it. Another thing is that you have certain issues yourself. It's not questions, but challenges that come. I mean, there are many challenges for Muslims, especially young Muslims living in Western countries. There's many challenges for Muslims, especially young Muslims, even living in Muslim countries. Well, I stay away from advising young people about their personal lives who are living in another country. I try to advise them. Go to your local, trusted, well-known, capable, senior scholar. If there's something I can give you from a general perspective, I don't mind. But I don't go into particulars because I have no authority, responsibility in that country. And I should not be saying something just because I think I have an opinion. However, from a general point of view, if you ask me a question, I look at your age, whatever, I'm talking to you like you're my son or daughter. Talk to you like my family, like you're in my congregation. You're in my digital, virtual congregation. And I have a responsibility as an uncle, as an OG, as a mentor to answer you. And I do. So all of this you can get if you are a patron, a supporter of my ministry, the Purpose of Life Foundation. And when you are a patron and a supporter, then we have established a strong relationship, a reciprocal relationship, where I am creating something and you are supporting that. And the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever supports something that is good, they will get the reward. You know, you will get the reward and I will get the reward, both. Whoever does a good thing, whoever makes a good contribution, they're going to get the reward of the one who embraces that and benefits from that, with nothing being detracted or nothing being taken from it all the way until the day of judgment. That means it is like perpetual, the goodness that comes from it. This is what we're trying to do. So I strongly advise that brothers and sisters who want to see strong Islamic resources available to them, relevant Islamic resources delivered to them, they should support it. Support the person, support that ministry, support that effort. Because those are steps that help us to reach our social objective, our global objective, our Islamic refinement. So brothers and sisters, go to Patreon /skyviews.com. That's Patreon /skyviews.com. And there you are. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this from us. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.